Welcome to the reading room here at the Royal Hospital Chelsea in London. With me this afternoon is our World Rugby Memorial Project Ambassador Brian Rolfe from the Royal Hospital Chelsea. Brian, it's great to be here in London with you.
Hey, it's a pleasure to have you here and a pleasure to welcome you all as well. There's not many who have had the chance to come and see this. I get the chance to go and see you play rugby, but this is where it all started for me, because if I hadn't been here, I would never have met John, and I'd never have ended up over on Shemad at the World Rugby Memorial. And a transformation in my life at the age of 72. Rugby's been very much a staff of life for me, being a member of a rugby club and then going out into the world and meeting other rugby players and realising the hospitality, the comradeship, and the just generally the good-naturedness of people that play rugby compared to other sports. And I don't mean to blacken them, but there's something special about rugby, and it appeals to me. It tugs at my heart. So anything I can do that will support and expand the rugby world, I'll do my best to do it, and I'll continue to do it. So being an ambassador to the memorial it's second nature. In fact, in a way, you could say it's my second home, when you consider that as a Chelsea pensioner, one of my major roles is to, as it were, champion remembrance of those who've paid the ultimate price and those who've paid limbs, and even if they've served freedom, and they've served rugby, because without freedom, rugby's not going to exist. Rugby players are satisfied to be able to play a good game and go out afterwards and sit down with the people they've just played against, have a drink and a good evening together, something to eat, and part as friends, irrespective of what happened on the pitch, even if there was a punch-up. That is something that's quite special. The World Rugby Memorial gives me a place where I can go on my own and think of players that I know who are no longer with us, and anyone in the world can visit the site and spend a few moments in the presence of all those rugby players who aren't with us anymore. And that makes it one of the focal points of rugby, as much of a focal point as Twickenham, Arms Park, any of the other big grounds, any grounds in the world. It's just special. And being fortunate enough to know one of the two men that founded it makes it even more special for me. Other than that, I'm just a pretty good bloke, lives in a great place, spends his time talking to people and taking them round and showing them how proud he is to live in the Royal Hospital. Been here for 300 and odd years looking after old soldiers. And in the end of the days, what am I other than an old soldier that played rugby? And lo and behold, there I am, an old player, soldier that played rugby, that's now the ambassador to the World Rugby Memorial.
And we have these three core values, don't we, Brian, that we really do form the basis of what we share with people.
We've got remembrance, we've got education, and we've got the fun and joy of playing rugby. You know, when something just works, it can't explain why it suddenly clicks. But in my situation, and in John's and in other people's, those three things come together and just meld and fit without any difficulty at all. It's smooth, it's just in union. Shouldn't say things like that. We do have two parts of the rugby world, but yeah, the things just join together naturally, and that's wonderful.
Well, it's the simplicity of the three elements, isn't it, really, more than anything else. It's, you know, it's uncomplicated in many ways.
There's nothing more uncomplicated than me. Seriously, I would honestly count myself as thick as two short planks. And of course, in a joking manner, I must have been. I played second row, good heavens. I only had one job, and I wasn't too bad at getting it. Sorry to all you number 9s out there, but there we go. That was the job. Nice and simple. Don't make it complicated for Brian. It'll get on all right.
Yeah,
no, it is. It's simple, uncomplicated, and it works. And it works on so many different levels.
I remember being told back in 2016, and we just finished a lunch. Actually, it was all about the SOM 100th anniversary, and one of our guests said in his closing remarks that this project will touch the lives of thousands. And at that particular time, going back to 2016, that wasn't really at the forefront of my mind. But now, as we've developed, had many more events, we've now got the annual Armistice event in Compiègne. We started the Rugby World War II project this year in Normandy for 80th anniversary of D-Day. You know, as we progress forward, we are touching more lives than perhaps we first realised.
Certainly more than I ever realised. I was going to places, and internationally as well. I mean, at the last Armistice, when the gentleman from Holland turned round and quoted me, the words that I'd said in the first video of when you conned me into being
persuaded
into being the ambassador,
coaxed.
That really brought home to me the impact that I was having, and I never realised that. I like to talk, and I will talk to the boys and try to just explain to them that, you know, you've entered a family that will last a lifetime. And in case it's not the family that you ended up with because of, it's the family that you adopted when you became. And you became one of our family members. And we accept you and welcome you with open arms because you have a like set of values. And those values are so important in the world today. Because if only those in power displayed the same values that you display as a rugby player every day of the week and during every game and during every celebration after the match, the world would be such a better place. We can all face each other on the sports field and abide by the result. And say that there's always a chance we'll meet again, and maybe it'll be a different result.
And one of the great pleasures about what we do, particularly when we look at the Armistice Festival each year, we have this gathering, don't we, on the Friday night pre-tournament, where it is a little bit more solemn, but then we always make sure that the young people come to the forefront to speak.
Are left to grow old, age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning we will remember them.
It's not about us adults standing at the lectern and the microphone talking about things. It's actually getting the youngsters themselves, age 15, 16, 17, 18, to speak from the heart as they see things.
And to think, just to ask questions. I mean, some of the questions that boys have asked me, they set me back on my heels. The first thing in my mind, where did that come from? And it's a young 15-year-old boy who's in the middle of a war grave cemetery and has had a thought and wants to know about something like that. Well, of course, in that situation, I'm perfectly versed to be able to answer the question for him. As a rugby player, he feels that much easier because he knows that I played rugby, and it breaks the ice for them. It gives them the opportunity to ask the questions which they more than likely, in fact, I'm quite sure, wouldn't ask because they would feel silly asking it of somebody who they didn't feel an affinity to. But to have a rugby player there, even an old crotchety one like me, and be able to ask him and know that he knows and he's experienced the situation, makes it easier for them. And I mean, I hope, and from what I've seen of it, I'm pretty certain I know, it has an impact far more than it would have done anywhere else. When they go Some of them go through scouts, they go to cadets, and they get paraded on on Remembrance Day, and it is a lot of adults. I was going to be irreverent there. I was going to say banging their gums, but no. It is. I mean, you often get me to do the Binion lines and the Kawima Badaf. In Kent, on August Bank Holiday weekend, they have the largest gathering of reenactors in the world. People come from America and from all over Europe to be there for that weekend. This year, the man who organises it, who knows me, asked me to go down there, and I didn't realise it, but it was for the express purpose of getting me to do the Binion lines, because what they had was somebody reading off a card, a recording of that, and it comes out flat because there's no feeling to it.
No emotion, is there?
There's no emotion, there's no empathy. Those lines are poetry. They were intended to provoke an emotion. And if they were recited without emotion, then they mean nothing, because people don't take impact from it. It's now been recorded, and those are the way, or that's the way it will now be on those occasions. Although, from the sound of things, it's still going to be me doing it year in, year out, because he wants me to go down every year now and take part in that ceremony that they have. But in that ceremony, there'll be 4,000 or 5,000 people, spectators, and the best part of 500 reenactors on there going through the solemn act of remembrance, with it having a meaning, not just being done because it's the done thing. You need to start thinking what it's really all about, and that is the lives of so many magnificent rugby players and others cut short because politicians couldn't get on with each other and sort things out.
We did a very special ceremony at Sword Beach this year during the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and towards the end of the ceremony, as we get to the closure with Binion's Kahima, we actually did the lines, so we actually had people speaking them in French, Dutch and English, because that was the audience there that day.
Yep.
And it was the first time that anybody had actually heard them done in the three languages back to back as well, and it created another poignant moment within the audience.
Just think of the impact that would have if you had the captain of England, the captain of Holland, and the captain of France, and the captain of Germany, each of them in their own tongue, saying those words before a match or after a match. I would suggest before. And the impact of it would go around the world, especially at the international. Do it at the World Cup. You know, let's really get behind the idea of. I served in the army for 20 years. I am not a pacifist. Let's be honest. And we're getting way off the tack. At the end of this, folks, rugby is a great leveller. It's a way of life and a way to model yourself. If you model yourself on the principles of rugby, you will be a good person in this world. And at the end of it, the only thing you can take away from here is the memories that you left of being a good person. And that's all any of us can do, no matter what job we have, no matter how high we rise incumbent. At the end of the day, just as a pebble thrown into a lake, there'll be a ripple, and then the lake will return back to normal. And the only thing that remains is the memory of what you did, what you were. And that's all you can leave and all you can look for in the world as it is today, and it ever will be. Nobody is anything special other than what they do is special. And if you've got the moral fibre, which you can draw from rugby, then you will do good.
And looking forward now, we're in the midst of the Rugby in World War II project. And as you know, I'm heavily involved with the planning now in Nijmegen as part of the Liberation 80, but it is the Freedom Festival, as the Dutch describe it.
Freedom is definitely the word, and it'll go from there out to the world because of all the people that we will involve in the celebrations. It'll go on the internet, people see it. Surprisingly, I never ever thought people would see me on the internet and come back and turn around quoting my words at me. It's just absolutely astounding, the impact and the breadth of field where it's gone. I never ever expected that. And John, power to you, mate. When you asked me to do it, I thought, you've got to be insane. It's madness. What on earth are we going to do? But we've been doing it now for 5 years.
5 years. 5 years now,
and
yes.
It's working. I get young lads like that boy from Breda that came up. I had a match in Twickenham. He'd been at the first armistice.
Second armistice, yeah.
And he come up to me and tapped me on the shoulder. You're him. Come and meet my mum and dad. I mean, there's Wyndham with the teddy bear dressed as a Chelsea pensioner called Brian, and it's the responsibility of the captain to make sure he goes to every away match. I mean, never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that kind of thing could happen. And I was never, this is the other thing, fellas, I was never that good at rugby. I'm not an army rugby player. I didn't even play for my corps. I played at regimental level when they had nobody else big enough to play. And that's when I played rugby. But I love rugby because of what it is and because of what it induced in me. And if it does the same for you, then you're on the track, you're going the right way, because it will lead you. It really does. And it has really and truly transformed my life.
I mean, one of the reasons why I invited you to take the role originally was the fact that you and I are good friends, but beyond that, I know that you are, for want of a modern phrase, a people person. You know, you are someone who can connect.
It's hard. I don't look at myself like that. This is terrible.
Well, that's me looking at you. You see, that's the thing, because we don't always see our inner selves, do we?
That's true. You don't. I always try to get on with people. I don't like any animosity. I prefer much more a friendly, open atmosphere. As soon as the referee blows his whistle, everybody stops and says, yes, sir, and they pack it in and get back to doing what we were there to do, playing rugby. A temper can flare, but that doesn't mean to say that you've got to go into mortal combat with somebody just because he got angry because he thought he was on for a try and you tripped him at the last minute. Mm-hmm. But these things happen and people react differently. But at the end of the day, when the whistle blows, it stops dead. And people behave themselves. We get round the table and have a groan about the new rules that they're bringing out. Not the game I used to play, but the truth of the matter is they're looking after people. And that's what is one of the things that rugby should do. We should look after each other and look after everybody, not just your own team. Look after all rugby teams. And remember that under the skin, they're all your brothers because they play rugby. And that should be the be all and end all of things. Would it be the same, dare I say, would it be the same in football, good heavens? We shall lead by example. The rugby world will show them the way. Let's be honest, the first football clubs were rugby clubs, not association soccer clubs. The first football clubs were rugby football clubs. And we lead the way and show them how it should be done, especially their fans. And the difference in the fans of rugby shows that we're on the right track because the people that support the game are on the right track.
Sort of just to conclude, really, we're looking forward to 2025. We're looking into the 80th anniversary of the that we're marking for the Rugby World War II project. We're taking the brand to the Netherlands, and we're also actually finally bringing it to the UK with our great finale in Lincoln as well on the 80th anniversary of VE Day. Next year we begin the event. A lot of ceremonial beforehand, the education day, and then the festival itself at Lincoln Rugby Club, where we're going to have teams coming in from France and the Netherlands, and maybe beyond that as well, but also a lot of British schools involved as well. So this is going to be under 15s, and I think that's a great age for the learning curve.
And speaking of ages, you've asked me to bring 6 Chelsea pensioners. The 6 Chelsea pensioners that are coming still play rugby. They play walk-in rugby, and they're all members of the Scarlet Warriors. So you can carry on. It's a lifetime commitment, folks, all the way through. Our youngest member's got to be 67 because you can't be a Chelsea pensioner until you're in receipt of the old age pension. So the youngest member in our team is 67. And the oldest, I'm not going to tell you because Jed will kill me, but he's over 90. It'll be 6 of them that I bring up to Lincoln for the celebrations up in Lincoln.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to receiving you there, Brian. I can only thank you for your time and commitment over the last 5 years and moving forward, and also just looking to welcome you over in Nijmegen and in Lincoln next year.
John, compared to what rugby's done for me, what I do for rugby is nothing. Seriously. Rugby's everything.
No, it's a pleasure to have you as part of the team. It really is.
Stop before you make me cry.
Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.